All right, we are back recapping week 4 of college football. Great weekend. Again, I killed it.
You
Again,
did. You
I'm
kicked ass. What were you, 21-6, right?
21 and 6.
Nice.
That you texted me, I'm trying to think. I think it was right around like 3 o'clock. I don't remember exactly. Whenever you texted me, I had just lost a bet, and I'm pretty sure it was UCLA first half minus 12. And I was like 50-50 to that point. But after I texted you that, I went off. I don't think
Yeah.
I lost a bet in the night or even afternoon slate. So thank you to you for texting that to me because after
Maybe
that
we
I had
jinxed it.
yeah, I went 21 and 6 on the weekend. You went 9 and 7. Um why are you so bad at this?
Dude, I don't know. I really don't. I felt good in my picks, but
Um yeah, so I just had this written down. Do you want good news or bad news?
we
Go
always start with bad. I don't
Or
think
start with
there's
bad news.
really, yeah.
I'm terrible at picking best bets.
Okay.
I'm 2-2 in the year. All right, and then we'll flip to the good news.
Uh-huh.
I'm 31 and 13 in the last 2 weeks of college football. 38 and 13. That's 74.5%.
That is very well, yes.
So I will take that. The best bets aren't there. I mean, but if anyone watched the Kansas Duke game, that over should have hit.
Yeah.
It was one of those games. I didn't even check the total yards. I wouldn't doubt if each team had like over 450 total yards, and it just didn't ever get there. I mean, Kansas returned the opening kickoff to the 50. Like 2 plays later, they're inside the 5, and they couldn't score. It was just like an overkiller because then Duke's it's nothing, and Duke starts their first drive having to go like 98 yards, and they moved the ball a little bit, but then so it was like nothing halfway through the first quarter. When you need over 60 some points, it was a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. The one thing I just want to touch on for any of my bets here is I suck at a lot of them.
Yeah,
I haven't
we
lost a
do.
bet. I haven't lost a best bet yet
Yeah.
on either slate, which is, I guess, something to take away that's good.
Yeah, you've been solid at that. I mean, I Arizona State must be in a bad spot
They are. Because I
because
remember you were skeptical about it when I gave it
well,
to you.
I just like spots where interim coaches come in. The team tends to get up a little bit because they want to prove that that coach deserved to be fired and it's not them that suck. So
Yeah.
the interim coach kind of gets on them about that, I think, usually. So it was just a spot to me that I never really liked betting. Like I took Oklahoma last weekend to beat Nebraska because I thought Nebraska was just that bad.
Yep.
So, but interim coaches scare me because they can usually rile the team up. Anyone you want to shout out from week 4? Anyone worth a shout out to you?
Um, Yes, but I don't want to do it right this second.
Okay.
I'll give another one though. I will shout out Notre Dame. They went into North Carolina
Yeah.
and took care of business.
Yeah. Freeman got a lot of weight off his shoulders with that
He did.
win.
That was a big win for them
Hmm.
and that program and his coaching tenure. So I will shout out Notre Dame as much as I don't like them. I don't think they're that great. Big win though.
That's one of those games I didn't bet on it. I didn't touch any part of it, and I just never had eyes on it. So, but it looked was it close for a while, and then they kind of just pulled away or
Yeah, it
something.
was first half. It was kind of like a back and forth type deal, and then second half they just kind of stretched it out and just took off running with it and never gave it back.
Yeah, I got 3 teams. James Madison. I bet them plus 6.5. They were going to App State, who's had this miracle 2 weeks to beat Texas A&M. Had the Hail Mary against Troy. I knew a letdown spot was coming. They came out App State came out of the gates. They were up 28-3. Now that
Whoa.
number's cursed a little bit. You don't want to be up 28-3.
Yeah,
So
now
and then James Madison ended up winning outright 32-28. I also had them in Who's Got That Dog in them in the episode. So James Madison's a real team. That's a great program, especially now that they're on the FBS level. I think they're even going to get even better and get better recruits, better athletes. So shout out James Madison. And then Washington State had the cover of the week.
dude.
Washington State
Oh,
I had them plus 6.5. Now they did kill me because I took them as a money line in a parlay,
yeah.
and they lost, and it was such a heartbreaking way. They gave up 28 points in the fourth quarter. They get 21 of them in the last 3.5 minutes. It was
Oh my
such a
God.
heartbreaking way to lose. Um, they just they're I think the last 5 minutes of the game, that team just forgot how to play football.
Yeah.
It was so it was tough to watch. Their quarterback looked flustered. Their defense, it was 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 or something, and they just played man free, and there was nobody in the middle. The dude just ran a post and was wide open to score. I mean, it was just a horrible ending to that game for them. But they did end up hooked up on like a 60-yard pass, got it down to the 1, and ran it in and made it 41-44, which covered the 6.5. But if you're Washington State, that's just a game. I forget who they play this week. I might be Stanford. I think it's someone in the division. I might be taking whoever they play because that's just one of those losses where it's tough to get back.
Yep.
After that, and then the last team, I'll tell you what, folks, I am on fire when I pick a team to cover multiple ways. I picked Washington State last week to cover 3 different ways. I
Who'd
picked
you have this
Washington.
week?
I had Washington to cover 4 ways. I had Western to cover 4 ways. They both did. Washington. The scary thing about Washington is if you watch that Stanford game, they could have played a lot better. They could have played so much better, and they still blew them out of the water. Western beat Florida International 73-0. That game
That's nice.
It was the only one that was close was the first quarter was -7.5, and they scored their second touchdown with like 2 seconds left in the quarter. So that was a little bit nerve-wracking. But after that, it was a rout.
Yeah.
So shout out to those 2 guys. On to the airing of grievances. Anyone you want to get mad at real quick, Douglas?
The tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
Yep. Yeah, Will Levis. I mean, come on, man. I rode with you after I hated, and like
That's a bad spot for them.
I know.
They got to go to Ole Miss next week. That was a bad spot.
I get it, but I rode with him thinking that'd be easy business, go take care of business. And they did. They won.
What was the line on that game?
25.5.
That's a lot.
It is, but that's going to be one of them. Next, we're going to slide straight to Pedophile Valley in Penn State.
Hold on, what was the final on that? Was it like 28, 23?
Dude, it was close. It was close, like very close. They almost lost. It was single digits
because their defense probably should have played better.
Yeah.
They're not really a great offensive team. I mean, if you think what they've lost they lost Wan'Dale Robinson. They lost who was the kid that played quarterback, and then he was with the Dolphins for a while.
I don't know.
I'll look it up.
From Kentucky?
He played quarterback at Kentucky and like ran the ball all up and down the field, and then he went and played receiver with the Dolphins for a little bit.
I could not tell you. Oh, is it Lynn Bowden?
Lynn Bowden, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know he played quarterback there.
He started as receiver, and then they had quarterback injuries, and he stepped in and played quarterback. Yeah.
Very interesting. I did not know that. Yeah, next I'm gonna go to Pedophile Valley in Penn State. Dude, I thought this was an easy cover. I really did.
It looked easy. I'm just gonna step in because I had the same thing. I had State Penn. I had them first half -15.5, and they came out to a 14-point lead in 6 minutes. I mean, they stormed out to a lead.
Yeah.
And then they just went flat. Now, my theory on this, let me know if you think this is somewhat accurate. I think what they do at Penn State football games is they get up like, 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. And then when they're on the sideline, instead of talking about football, they talk like, hey, how do we get Uncle Jerry out of prison? I think they start. I think they go there, and then the football game kind of gets lost. So that's why they probably have a hard time covering.
And the last one I'm gonna choose here is ODU. Man, I can't be mad at them though.
Arkansas State's good. Arkansas State's a good team.
And honestly, ODU probably should have lost the game, and they came back and won by 3, I think. So they barely missed the cover, but just a heartbreaker in heartbreaking fashion as far as the betting went with that. But I was happy that they won at least. I liked that team a lot, and I'll be betting on them more. So,
my last team I need to air some grievances with was UCLA. This is the pick I talked about at the beginning of the episode. Gutted me. This was one where I felt I was like 50-50. I lost the Kansas over. I lost Penn State was dead. Let me look at what else was dead? Tennessee didn't look great. Although they were up, they eventually got up. And the Tennessee game had just started, and it was tighter than I wanted it to be. Miami, I had Miami's team total. I think Miami scored 28 points in the second half. If they came out and had an average first half, they'd hit that easily. But I was just 50-50 through that early. I didn't have any bets, but I was like 50-50, and then the explosion happened. But UCLA, they were up 21-3 with 4 minutes left against Colorado, a team that's probably scored 3 touchdowns this season. And they gave up a 9-play, 70-plus yard drive and gave up a 4th-and-goal touchdown with like 9 seconds left. It killed me.
That's painful.
Like, it's just one of those ones where like it wasn't like a last second of the game cover. First, you still have the starters in. It's not like you got the red shirts in there that are playing their last game before they got to shut it down for the year. No, you got your starters in the game still, and they gave up a drive to a terrible offense. And Colorado had their backup quarterback in the game when they did it.
Yeah, so that's even worse.
It was horrible. It was one of the worst beats I've had in a long time.
Yep.
That's on me. Give me East Carolina. Your East Carolina Pirates, your favorite team in the country. They couldn't beat Navy. They were 16.5-point favorites at home, and they couldn't beat Navy. It was it's one of those games where I didn't watch any of it. I had to be honest, I didn't watch any of it, so I couldn't give you a breakdown of the game. It was one of those bets I had. I said, I'm going to check on if the game started at 6. I said, I'm going to check on this at like 7:30, where it's like halftime before the other games start. I'm going to check on it real fast, and then but if it's like 14-0, if it's like 14-3, I'll be like, okay, it's fine. It was 3-3 at the half. They scored more points against NC State. Navy's defense is terrible.
Yeah, no, they're bad. They're really bad.
And they couldn't even. They lost the game outright in overtime. It was so pathetic. East Carolina has played fantastic. They should have been 3-0 going into that game, and they lost to Navy.
Yeah,
it was so. I thought that line should have been 20-something, but no. East Carolina, that was a bad loss for the program, and I'm glad that they didn't beat NC State, because originally after week 1 or week 2, I said
week 1.
I said, this team, I was rooting for them at the end of that NC State game. I was saying, if NC State's not going to cover this game, just go ahead and beat them. You know what I mean? And they didn't. But I was rooting for them at the end of week 1. Now I hate them, so they're on my hate list again.
Fair enough. Mine for that's on me. I think I have to go USC here. I take them every week. It seems I'm high on them.
That's not a on me. That's you told me so. That's a separate category for you told me so.
Kind of, but I want to give more praise to Oregon State. They're tough. I mean, I know you told me they were, and you like them a lot, and they run the ball well, which I thought USC did a decent job containing, actually. USC, their defense, Oregon State's defense, was the focal point of the team that night. They played incredible defensively up until the last couple of minutes there when Addison scored the game winner. But I should have known. I did it just because, if not, we would have agreed on every single pick also. And I did think that they would cover. I'm not saying that I didn't, but it's nice when we have a little bit of like debate going back and forth sometimes. So I didn't like the line, how it kept dropping and dropping and dropping. That scared me. When I saw that it dropped 2 points in 2 days, I was like, okay, Vegas is doing this for a reason, and they know something's up.
That loss, that Oregon State losing that game, listen, they covered, great for them. I'm very happy with them. They played fantastic. That loss hurt me more than any Cowboys or Auburn loss in the past 2 years.
No.
Swear to my life. I was standing there heartbroken for those kids. I mean, you think about USC, how many 5-star athletes do they have?
Probably a
10,
lot.
20?
Yeah, I'd say minimum 10.
How many 4-stars do you think they have? 40 of them?
30.
Oregon State, 0 5-stars and a handful of 4-stars went out there and played toe-to-toe with easily a top 10 team in the country.
Yep.
It was such an impressive game by them. I was heartbroken for them. If they would have got a quarterback like Michael Penix, who's at Washington, Quinn Ewers, trying to think who else, man, even maybe even Nix or something.
Mm-hmm.
Their quarterback now, he is terrified. He made 3 terrible throws in that game that he just panicked on. He said, I don't want to take a sack here. I'm just going to throw the ball, and he forced it. That was the difference in the game. If he didn't, the USC scored. They scored a touchdown late, but their first touchdown was off an interception on a short field. They had never been in that game.
Yeah,
they didn't turn the ball over. So, but that's why I said before the game, I said, don't turn the ball over and run. And they did it for most of the game, but they added up. But that rolls right into my one big takeaway, and that's USC is very beatable.
Oh yes.
If you can run the ball and stay on the field you saw how it got him out of the rhythm. Williams was not in rhythm. Addison was not in rhythm. The other, is it Mario Williams is the other receiver.
Mm-hmm.
They were not in rhythm at all. Because the Oregon State was taken up, they were going 8 plays and only going like 40 yards, if that, and just taking up 6 minutes of game time like they should have, and they was really smart. But Williams was out of rhythm in the passing game, at least. And the other thing you have to be able to do against USC is rush with 4. If you have the guys that you can just rush with 4 and drop 7, you can beat them. They're very, very beatable. The other note I have in this game, and I text you this, Caleb Williams is the best running quarterback I've ever seen.
Yeah, you texted me and said he's better than Vic was. I think.
It's not so much downfield running, it's in the pocket. I've never seen anybody evade at the college level, evade rushers like he does. Rushers will just be coming free, like not even blocked at all. And he'll just stand there, and then at the last second, he'll duck and roll out. And just time after time after time again. They had him at 4th and like 7 in the middle of the field, and he ended up running for it. He got a little help from the lineman, which I still have some controversial takes on that because I think his forward progress was stopped. He was starting to get driven back, and then the O-line pushed him forward. But he was really impressive running the ball. I just think this USC team might be a little overrated. I don't think
don't disagree.
I don't think they're going to play a team in the pack that can beat them on any given night. But I think once they get in there with the big boys, I had 3 names written down: Georgia, Alabama, and Michigan.
Michigan, huh?
Michigan will run it right down their throat. Michigan's got some dudes, and they got a run game.
It's interesting. Very interesting.
Ohio State they probably make the list too. I just think Michigan has a better offensive line.
Michigan should have lost to Maryland. I'm going to just say that right now.
Of course they should have. That was easy. I texted you. I said that was the easiest 17 out there.
Very, very easy.
Michigan played nobody.
Yeah.
They played.
We both talked about that.
They played Division II teams. They played Hawaii, Colorado State, and UConn.
Yep.
That was an easiest game for Maryland to cover. They go into the big house. Michigan's used to playing against a certain speed, and then Maryland comes, which Maryland's a below average Power 5 team, or maybe an average now. That they're all right this year, but still, there was a huge jump in talent they had to play against. That was an easy cover by Maryland.
Yeah, so it's funny you said that, Trey. Actually, one of the things, it's not my big takeaway, but I have a list of just takeaways for the recap that I wanted to touch on. I'm going to go through a couple of them, but first I want to touch on Oregon State and USC. I have right here, Oregon State is tough, but USC is not who we thought they were.
Yeah.
And they're not. Oregon State proved that. You just said it. Less talent, lesser coach, lesser quarterback, all the way around the board. If they didn't let Travis Dye run for 133 yards, they probably win the game. He went nuts. He's the reason they kept that, and Williams extending and getting conversions is what helped them win.
The hard thing about playing USC is you have to respect the pass so much that when they go 4 wide receivers, you can only have 5 in the box. That's what Oregon State was doing. They were just putting 5 in the box, and USC still tried to pass it like that, but then they said, we got to run the ball, and Dye ended up getting his yards. But
it's very early to say, but I don't think that they will win the national championship this year. It's very, very early. They have the talent to do it, but talent and actually doing it are completely different. They play like that, they're going to get the doors blown off of them by probably 4 or 5 other teams that I could think of.
Yeah, that's why I think there's a handful out there that if you can run the ball on them and and play good defense, especially on the back end, you'll be at least in the game. You're not going to get your doors blown off.
Another one, something that you and I talked about on our last episode. Kansas is a top 25 team in the country. They're a top 25 team.
That was not an impressive win.
They're 4-0. They covered. They're 4-0. And you said if they beat Duke, why aren't they?
Those are your words. I know you're right. I did say that, but they I don't know. I think I know why they didn't play well, and that's because I have it written down here in the Week 5 look ahead. They got Kansas State or Iowa State rolling into town.
Yeah.
Tomorrow or Saturday.
Maybe they're saving some gas.
So that might have been a little look ahead spot, especially in the second half.
Yeah.
But no, they're fine. If they beat Iowa State, they might be a top 20 team because Iowa State plays great defense, and if that offense can score on them, look out.
Yeah. Also, speaking of Kansas and the Big 12, my biggest loser, Oklahoma. It's got to be Oklahoma.
That was another game I didn't touch, so I didn't have eyes on. But
I didn't bet it, but they're the biggest loser to me. They just lost to a Kansas State team in Oklahoma. They were in Oklahoma. That just lost the week prior to Tulane at home.
Yeah, but
by double digits.
That's just like,
I get it. It's one of those like Kansas State's kind of getting up and like you got to go and get it. I understand. But you can't lose that game, man.
Do you think Oklahoma comes off a blowout win over their rivals in Nebraska? They're not, and then they see Kansas State lost to Tulane.
Yeah, I'm sure they slept on them. Yeah, they slept on them.
That's a look ahead spot, if any of them. So
that's got to be my biggest loser of the week. Though, is them.
I only have one biggest loser, and for sure it's Miami. That program is absolutely in shambles.
They benched what's his face, and he was supposed to be a preseason Heisman candidate.
Tyler Van Dyke.
Thank you.
That team, Mario Cristobal, if he can turn that program around, he can probably get any NFL job he wants.
Yeah,
because did you see the crowd down there?
No, I didn't watch any pieces of the game.
There might have been 8,000 people in the crowd.
That's it. We're talking about Miami, too.
This is Hard Rock Stadium. That was packed the next day to watch the Dolphins.
That's nice.
It looked like a Division II crowd. It was so sad to see the state of that program. There's no discipline. There's no heart. There's no fight. It's so, you look at when they went into Texas A&M and they played tight with Texas A&M, their defense played well, but Texas A&M's offense isn't anything special. Texas A&M had their offense, they had the Manziel offense or even the Kellen Mond offense. They probably put up a 40 spot on that Miami team. Miami is not good. They're undisciplined. Cristobal has a lot of work to do, and I think it starts even with getting the fan base around the school engaged, because like I said, there might have been 8,000 fans there.
That's a shame.
Just go back and watch like a sped up version of the game and just look at the crowd at some place. They're like
gaps everywhere.
It looks like they got everyone got free tickets, and that's the only reason they're there. Because they're just like, all right, well, this is something to do on a Saturday. It was really
a
sad.
Shame. What a shame.
So lastly, looking ahead to week 5, there are a lot of good games. The night slate kind of sucks, to be fair. The night slate is not great, which is good because then as long as we're not betting too much late, we can go to bed early. But Kentucky at Ole Miss is a good one. Like we said, Kentucky might have been a look ahead spot against NIU. So that's I think that's Kentucky. Well, they went down and beat Florida, so that was a test. But this is a real test. Ole Miss has looked tough. So
they also were in a look ahead spot last week. They didn't cover to Tulsa, and it just ripped my throat out.
That's what happens in college football.
Ripped it right out. So maybe they were both just looking forward to the next week, I guess.
Teams don't. That it happens every year. Teams,
they're not going to game plan for a technical.
It's
college.
It's not even so much. I mean, it may be a little bit of game planning on the coach's side, but the players, they're thinking, oh, dude, we got Kentucky coming into town next week. We gotta. Let's stay healthy for that. Let's not get too crazy this week. Stuff like that. They're not thinking, okay, we can go out there and we can play 85% against Tulsa and get the job done. So
yeah.
Next game I have written down, Oregon State with a rough 2 games. They just lost a heartbreaker to USC, and now they are on the road at Utah. I love Utah in that spot. I don't know I didn't check the line yet, but Oregon State just poured their hearts out into that game and got them crushed at the end.
Yep.
So,
let's see if I could go find the line. I'm on FanDuel here.
Because I'm thinking off the top of my head, if it's anything, if I had to guess what it is, it's probably.
Take a guess. I have it right here. I just found it.
Is it 8.5?
10.5.
10.5. Ooh. See, outside of 10, I might still like it because that's just tough to get up for that after a heartbreaker. But still good. I think it'd still be a good game. The next game I have written down, Alabama heads to Arkansas.
I got that line. I got that line right here too, and I'll be taking Bama if this line stays. I'm telling you that right now.
What's that? Is that 14?
16.5, and I'll hammer that with Bama. I would hammer that, dude.
Yeah,
hammer that.
Arkansas. That was a tough loss.
Yes, it was.
They covered.
They did cover.
And Alabama's got some issues. They can't really throw the ball right now. They're relying a little bit too much on the run for me. So that might be closer game than people think.
A game that you're really interested in that's actually part of the night slate that I see here. NC State's heading to Clemson.
I had that.
We'll get to that one whenever you get there, but I just saw it and I know you got to be interested in that.
The next game, Baylor goes to Oklahoma State. That's probably the biggest game in the Big 12 so far. I mean, Texas Tech, but both those teams had losses already.
Mm-hmm.
This is a crazy one. This game could go either way. You have the
line. I'm looking at it right now.
What's the line? Let me guess.
Take a guess.
Oklahoma State's at home, but I think...
No, it's in Baylor.
Oh, it's at
Baylor. Yep.
We'll say Baylor's 2.5 point favorites.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Yep, nailed it.
So,
that's a tough one. That's a game I'm probably not going to touch. That's a game as spread goes.
like Arkansas, Texas A&M last week. That's going to go either way. It'll probably really, really, really tight. Waco's a tough place to play, so it'll be a good test for that Oklahoma State team. Next up, Wake Forest at Florida State. Florida State's undefeated.
I get it. That being said, I like that Wake Forest team.
But this is what we just talked about with Oregon State. They got their hearts ripped out. The biggest game for Wake Forest's biggest rival is Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then they that was the closest they'd had come in the past probably 12, 13 years to beating them, and they lost in overtime like that. I think it's going to be tough for them to get up and go to Florida State and to play a scrappy Florida State team. We talked about this one. Iowa State goes to Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm gonna guess. Oh, this might be gonna be tight because Iowa State plays such good defense. Do you have the line?
I have it. Yep.
I'm gonna say Kansas because they've looked good, really good so far. Kansas is maybe like a 2-point favorite.
They are 3.5 point dogs.
No.
Oh yeah.
Well, then I'll
be taking Kansas.
I'll be taking them because they're feeling so disrespected right now if they find out they're dogs. And then the nightcap. This is the best game of the night. There's not much after it. I think this is a 7:30 or 8 o'clock kickoff. NC State goes to Clemson. This is one you're just like throw out the stats, throw out the history book. I think I'm going to say Clemson after beating Wake. Clemson's 6.5 point favorites.
Correct.
Yeah. That line.
I don't like that line.
That line's making me think NC State.
Wouldn't hate that. It being in Clemson scares me. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. If it was an NC State, I'd obviously love it. But
the thing I've learned, and I hope people learn from me, is when a line is under a touchdown or under 3 or under 4, they actually think the team that's the dog is going to cover.
Mm-hmm.
But they're making you think, oh, it's under a football number, it's under 3, it's under 4, it's under.
So that you take the opposite, so they make money off that game.
Oh, if they win by a touchdown, I'm fine. Yep. They're thinking the other thing. They want you to take that favorite So I've been doing that all year long. It's worked out great for me. I'm at like, hold on, I'll pull it up. See what number I'm at. I'm at 63% so far in college football. I was 77% last weweek.
Mm-hmm.
That system's been working well for me. If it's under a touchdown and it's I love, and it's under a football number, I love the underdog. Did you have any other games you wanted to touch on? If you're looking at the slate that you
No, nothing
No,
that really interests me for next week. I would like to touch on one more thing for the end of
Okay.
this week, though. I just want to go on the record and say that my biggest takeaway probably of the college football season so far, Minnesota will win the Big Ten West. They're going to be a tough match for anyone who steps up against them, regardless of where the venue is. I don't care if you're in Happy Valley, if you're in Minnesota, if you're in the Horseshoe, it does not matter. Defense in a running game travels, and they got the best of it right now, it seems. They are going to go undefeated if they get past Penn State October 22nd.
I was going to say,
House. If they get past them, they will go undefeated and head to the Big Ten championship. There's no doubt in my mind.
If somehow Minnesota is like, they keep looking good up until that game, if Penn State's dogs at home, I'm gonna have to take that.
I don't care. I will take Minnesota.
I guarantee they have that circled right now as the whiteout game.
Oh, it has to be. That's probably their biggest game of the year too. Besides when Ohio State heads there too. So
pull up Penn State's schedule.
Let's see.
Because if that game, I would think they either go to I think they go to Michigan this year. I don't remember. Last year? Did they play Ohio State at home or what?
They played us at home, meaning Ohio State was home. So I believe this year we're coming to Pedo Valley as well. Yeah, they got the. Oh man, Penn State's got a rough 3-game stretch, dude.
They play all 3 of those in a row.
So this week they got Northwestern. Then they got their little bye week, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever. On the 15th, they head to Michigan. 22nd, Minnesota comes to town. 29th, Ohio State comes to town. That's tough.
I think if they're still undefeated, which they will be, if they go to Michigan, well, maybe not. If they go to Michigan and win, I think you have to make Ohio State the whiteout.
You would think so, yeah.
If they lose to Michigan, then I think you make Minnesota the whiteout because you probably will lose to Ohio State too.
Yeah,
but
I think right now they're going to lose all 3 of those games.
Wow,
I do. Yeah. I think Minnesota's that good. I think Minnesota could potentially beat Ohio State and Michigan. I think they're that real.
Yeah,
that defense is. I believe that. Yeah.
You reminded me of one more thing. My other biggest loser of the week is Auburn football. Not because they lost, but because they won in a miracle fashion with a guy fumbling into the end zone at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
That keeps Brian Harsin as head coach for at least another week. Every week he's still there, it's trouble.
Yeah.
So the fact that I was at the end of the game, I was a Missouri Tiger fan. I was bleeding black and gold. I was saying, get him out. Come on, Mizzou, get him out.
No, you weren't.
When that kid missed that field goal, I was like, we're cursed. We're absolutely cursed because if he would have made that field goal, I have to imagine Parson would have at least had a discussion with some people about like, hey, you got to at least get to a bowl game this year.
Yeah.
So it was that was tough. That was tough. And I think I saw LSU was like 7.5-point favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. I think LSU kills them.
Well, we will see. We will see.
Ends Harsin's career. It's going to be that bad. It's going to be like 38-10.
38-10
in Auburn. That's going to be bad.
Boy, that would be bad. Yeah, that would be hopefully what you want. Hopefully coaches get them out.
Yeah. All right. That was it for the week 4 recap. We'll be back later in the week with our college football episode and our NFL episode. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Thank you guys.